Before we start the program, I would request Himali, my MA student, to render a prayer. The mic is getting in place. I hope I am audible.
Yes.
So, to start the conversation, thank you so much, sir, for gracing us at SLS PDPU. The Department of Languages, Literature and Aesthetics is very, very happy to have you here. Before I start anything, I have to thank our student, alumnus, Mr. Abhishek Dadhich, for getting sir to the campus. Thank you, Abhishek. Now, this is the first time ever that we are having a lecture on philosophy in SLS PDPU, and I hope it paves the way of us starting a full-fledged program on philosophy. So I'm looking forward to that too, because we have been thinking on those lines to be introducing new subjects. So far as philosophy is concerned, before anything else, I thought let me just check what all sir has done, and it was majorly discouraging. The reason being that I just saw his official CV on the website of the University of Hyderabad from where Sir hails, and it ran into 26 pages both sides. So I just got and I can't just it's like talking about one drop and trying to explain the ocean. So I just gave it up. I said it's impossible. So he has written on any and every aspect, all the 5 major components of philosophy. He's written on aesthetics, he has written on metaphysics, you name it, and he has written books on it, published papers on it. So the quantum of work that Sir brings to us is immense, and it is totally overwhelming. So we so look forward to being enriched by all that he has to say. Knowing him since 2014, and I was lucky to visit Nirma University as an invited speaker, and I heard Sir, and I'm looking forward to Sir's in your face kind of comments. He will not mince words. He will not take, he has opinions which he is going to throw at us, and we just might get shocked by a lot of them. So I'm looking forward to the kind of person who is like no holds barred. So that is something that I look forward, and that is what we are trying to inculcate in the spirit of SLS. That's why all of you are here, to be able to be thinkers, to be able to think new ideas, because ideation is the base of everything. When we talk, for me, philosophy as a person of aesthetics was seeing Raphael's painting in the Vatican. The School of Athens. So he has beautiful frescoes there, and you just look at it in awe. And you are totally amazed by the beauty of it all, because in 1500 something he drew that, he painted that. So for me, philosophy as a student of literature comes from there. But all of us have our own way of thinking at life or looking at life. I was just talking to Abhishek yesterday, asking him what exactly do I do. Then I thought maybe because I have my own individual philosophy of life, I said I'll just gift him my book and ask him to revisit philosophy from a woman's perspective. So I just had a laugh at it. I don't know what to tell Sir. But on a serious note, Sir, I am so looking forward to, and I'm sure all my students are too. I will not run into all his Oxford University publications and all his Routledge publications and endless number of papers. I'm sure all of you will dig into them once you have heard, Sir. So I will not take more time. I would let the experts speak. In front of him, I don't think I have any aukat, I should be saying much. So I will let him speak, but before that, I would request Pradeep Sir to felicitate Sir with a shawl as a token of our gratitude. This has the Suti Arti inside it. Which is if you want to make him wear it or just.
Oh yes.
So I just put it in this way, like it feels nice.
You guys familiar with this?
Oh yes. This is the Khadi Arti, which
hand-woven. We call it Arti. So as our gratitude and appreciation for his scholarship and his genius, on behalf of all of you, I would like to honor him.
Pin this up on Sir from the students. Says let's smiley because we like smiles all around. So this is like this small smiley, Sir can pin it up on his So thank you so much, Sir. There is a small something which is again a Suti Arti for Abhishek, which is I would want you to give to Abhishek too. And of course,
again,
a little
thank
smiley
you very much.
again.
Change goes not very
The idea is to initiate a thought, and if it changes you, will be more than good. We'll be humble.
Who's got a better smile?
Now I request Pradeep Malik Sir, who is officiating as a director, to say a few words about Indian aesthetics and how the liberal arts students look at it.
Okay, folks, I'm a man of action. I'm on the field. That is where I'm the best. Not really into thinking, but can we do without thinking? Liberal studies the students in front of you, as you know, they are all students of liberal studies in various semesters. Some of them are graduating, so they are seniors, some juniors, some sophomores, and some very, very freshers a few months ago. So for all those who are new to our SLS, by now I hope you have an inkling of what liberal art is and what liberal studies is. Liberal art as a study, branch of study that is worthy of a free human being. And all of us are free human beings, would like to remain free human beings. That's the liberal arts, the classical thinking of liberal arts. And then comes the liberal studies where unlike many schools in the West, where it is named as School of Liberal Arts, you must have noticed we call ourselves School of Liberal Studies, not just liberal arts, because we feel that why confine this idea of liberty to arts and humanities only? Why not social sciences? Why not natural sciences? Why not business, the commerce? And hence this idea of liberal studies, which enables us, and through while studying here, these students, we are helping them to learn, to get that ability to talk about the complexities, the changes, and thinking independently. And that is where the importance of getting an exposure to philosophy as a branch of study comes in, because it helps us in understanding, independent thinking critically and independently. We get so many inputs from all over, from all around us, be it interpersonal communication, be it mass communication or the media of mass communication. We hear so many things, and if you have an exposure to philosophy, it helps you in asking critical questions. You ask, why is the person speaking what he or she is speaking, and where does that person come from? Why does he behave like the way he or she is behaving? That's the importance of having an exposure to logical thinking. Moreover, in our liberal studies program, so all these students in their final year, in fact, they start working on it towards their junior year, in the third year. That is to say, they have to do dissertation, where you will learn. Some of you have already learned, and those who have not will learn in due course. This research involves certain amount of digging into some fact, which might exist or you are going to discover. And there are essentially two types that you do. Whether you do quantitative methods, where you go out, collect data, so you conduct a survey, collect data and come back, or you observe things in the nature and pick things. There is a technical term called, you literally lift theories from the grounded theory. So whether you do quantitative or qualitative, you will be doing either deductive reasoning, if it is quantitative most of the time, or you will be doing inductive reasoning when it is qualitative most of the time. And an exposure to philosophy will help you understand both of them, especially the inductive more on that side. Natural sciences more with the deductive, and the rest of all, the social sciences more with the inductive. So I hope coming from the master, none less than the master himself, a person who has innumerable, as Neeta ma'am, gave up the effort, she couldn't have the courage to go through all the contribution that he has done. And without reading, I think we have known a lot about him, without going through his contribution. So coming from the master himself, I guess it will be a good grounding for all of us to get closer to philosophy and to eventually get into philosophy as a branch of study. All of us have a philosophy of our own life, but that is very, very different from philosophy as a branch of study. So that's what we are looking forward to, sir. Thank you for making it to our institute, our school, our university, and we look forward to listening to you, sir.
Thank you so much, sir. I am late for class, but I'm sure sometime in the near future. Raghuram sir, I would invite you for your expert talk on Indian philosophy, contributions to and contestations with the Western philosophy. The stage is also sir.
Thank you very much. Let me begin by asking this question. How do we deal with
The mic
other?
will just be arranged.
Yeah. How do we deal with the other? Is there a self which can operate without the other? In Western philosophy, particularly starting from Edward Said and Frank Fanon, you have a notion of other where the other is taken, where the other is treated as oppressive. Okay, Fanon looks at the other as oppressive, and Edward Said also looks at the other as oppressive. But then there is something very interesting in Indian philosophy, which comes from both Nyaya and Buddhism, according to which knowledge consists not in knowing what it is, but what it is not. So the knowledge of the mic does not consist in knowing what the mic is, but what the mic is not. And what the mic is not is infinite. You can't enumerate. You can count, but you can never complete enumerating. So that's an idea of knowledge that's available in Indian system. And this is what is called as apoha theory of knowledge. Now this apoha theory of knowledge goes exactly opposite of Foucault on knowledge and power. For Foucault, knowledge is power. Okay, there is no knowledge outside the power. I'll not go into details on that. But there is an underlying positivism in this formulation. And what is it? I know what is knowledge, and then I can use it as a power. Suppose I can never know completely what something is that knowledge available for power? Is something that comes to me to re-look at. So I work with something different, and the different thing is that how, for instance, other is not merely an oppressor, but other as an enabler. Is it possible to look at the other as enabler? And I'll give you two instances where other worked as an enabler. One instance comes from Vivekananda. Vivekananda, when he was not Swami at that time, Ubendranath Datta, he was studying in a college in Calcutta, and then his teacher was teaching them Wordsworth poetry, and these Bengali boys didn't get what the teacher was saying, particularly Wordsworth's notion of trance. So the teacher was cut with the students, like most teachers are, unreasonably sometimes. So he shouted at them, then went back to the principal and complained, saying that these Bengali boys are not capable of understanding Wordsworth's poetry. So he said, I will not teach this group of people. The principal happened to be Reverend Hasty. And the Reverend Hasty comes to the class and says the following. He says to the students, I gathered from your teacher that you are not following Wordsworth's poetry. Perhaps your teacher himself may not have followed Wordsworth poetry. Okay? Now listen to it carefully. Not that you are not listening to carefully earlier. If you want to know what is an idea of a trance, I suggest you go to Dakshineshwar and meet this person called Ramakrishna Paramahamsa. The reason why I ask you to listen to it carefully is, here is a person who is an outsider, Reverend Hasty, and not merely a British administrator, he is a father from Christianity. telling these Bengali boys, natives, about their own person whom they did not recognize, and he, an outsider, makes the insider. In other words, the outsider enables the insider to see the inside. That's so near. Is that enough? But there is something else there. Can you guess what is there? Apart from what I said, there is something else. Can you guess?
Probably a really wrong guess, but I'm assuming as literature students of last year, we look at Macaulay's minutes and other things. So first connection I made was an outsider telling you where you come from and where you should go. It problematizes your discovery.
Fine. That's one. The other thing which I want to get to is, most of the time we use literature to make sense of the reality. We make sense of, so literature comes to the rescue of reality to make the point that otherwise you are not able to make, particularly the aesthetic, okay, about the description of moon, things like that. So you use metaphors, symbols, analyses to draw the attention about the reality and what cannot be described immediately in literal or physical terms to, through literary genre. Here is a case which is exactly the opposite. That Wordsworth was belongs to literary genre, is sought to be explained using a real instance. So it's not, the literature coming into the rescue of the reality, it's the reality comes to the rescue of the literature. And we have not paid attention to it. And what the person who makes this possible is an outsider. And he is not a Hindu. And he is not just a British official. He is a Christian, a father. A Christian father. You understand that? And then, after Vivekananda met Ramakrishna Paramahamsa, he never went back to Wordsworth. That's the flip side of it, which is massive. And if you think that it is accidental, I wanted to bring to your attention to another instance where the other, that is the Western philosophy as other, the West as the other, okay, India as the self. The instance from Mahatma Gandhi. Okay? Mahatma Gandhi was one of the important influences of Gandhi remains Bhagavad Gita. Okay, and Gandhi was asked by two theosophical people in England. Okay, so they are British and England, about his views on Bhagavad Gita, and Gandhi confesses that at that time he didn't read the text properly. He only heard about the text, not read it. And they give him a translation which is Light of Asia or Lords. And please remember three things. One, two Britishers, outsiders, in England, outside, and he reads not in Gujarati or in Sanskrit, but in English. And see the amount of impact it generated on him. Okay, so now who is enabling whom?
Other is enabling self. Other is enabling
Other.
self.
Understand? That is the important thing. So when you look at Western philosophy and Indian philosophy interface, don't look at it as something as oppressing you, as mostly is the case. No, it doesn't oppress. It should enable you. It depends upon how, and this is the biggest, virtue of this reality called 20th century India. 20th century India is a spectacle. And why is it a spectacle? Because it is an instance where two civilizations come together, okay, and it is a Sandhi period. In contestation, in collaboration, in mutual understanding at all levels. We only looked at the contestation part of it. We also should look at the collaboration, the instances that I just now gave you to see. two world wars where, you know, just two continents participated is called a world war. Is it correct? Is the usage correct? Mahabharata may not have been such a big event, but it is made into an epic by, understand? So, but 20th century is such a big spectacle, we have failed to capture the complexities that are there. And that's the failure of Indian philosophy. Philosophers in India have not been able to capture the complexity that is there. Okay, does that make sense? So like, let me just take with this introduction, take an instance from West, how West can enable the Indian philosophical schools. Now, frankly speaking, there are no theories that are available in India today to do Indian philosophy or to use it in Indian social theory. So we have to shamelessly borrow it from outside. And we borrowed it in the following way. How did we borrow it? We borrowed them as persons. Like we started teaching them John Stuart Mill, then Descartes, and then this, that, Wittgenstein, and all those kind of a thing. It is like bringing a big statue when you didn't have a place to put it. Suppose, you know, if you bring a very big statue here and there is no place, you have to make it sleep. And a standing statue and sleeping, you know, it makes no sense. Or we try to bring them into pieces like liberalism, you know, the history of a text. They didn't make sense beyond a point. We didn't understand like the teacher of Vivekananda. So we complain that, you know, when our students are not able to follow, for we were students making the same kind of complaints when we were the thing, and you will do it, you know, when you become teacher. This is something which is going on very interestingly. One could write, in fact, a novel on it. I am not competent, but I have it. So what do we do? There are people who try to use a Western philosopher to make sense of the Indian philosophy. Okay? There is this person called Zakaria who uses, who uses both Derrida and Gandhi to make sense of these things. And there is a person called Aishwarya Kumar who uses, Benjamin and Ambedkar. Okay, I find that that's not going to be very helpful. The reason why it's not going to be helpful is the following. It is because if a young student reads Isaiah Zacharias and then goes to read Derrida, there is lakhs of articles and works of Derrida. And if they go and read Gandhi, you will be disappointed. There are not similar works on Gandhi. Okay, so there is this, you will actually, a student gets disappointed, and not only get disappointed, the student gets let down. You feel that, here is a comparison, but the components of the comparison are uneven. Okay, now there are people like B.K. Matilal who try to compare Western philosophers with Indian philosophy, and that is also not going to work, and it has not worked beyond a point. The reason why it will not work is, in the works of B.K. Matilal and J.N. Mohanty and Daya Krishna, what is compared has a temporal imbalance. And what is the temporal imbalance? They have always compared classical India with modern Western philosophy. So it is like, it is like 60 plus people playing with under 23. And who will win? Cricket? Okay, so you have lost the game before it is started, before the ball is, ball. Does this make sense? So I have the following strategy. There is a person called Deleuze and Guattari, two important continental philosophers. They wrote a book on Kafka. They wrote a book on Kafka, where they introduce a distinction between minor literature and major literature. minor literature and major literature. So they use this concept of bending in Kafka's Castle, where judges bend. Okay, so Kafka very skillfully uses the metaphor of bending. So I take that insight from Kafka's, Deleuze and Guattari's use of Kafka, the idea of bending, and I also want to bend Western philosophy without breaking. So it is an instance of where you should bend Western philosophy and not break. If you know that you are going to break, don't bend it. So in other words, I try to deflate Deleuze and Guattari in the West, bring them here, and then inflate them again, so that I use them for different reasons. And this is how I do it. Can I do it? Deleuze and Guattari makes the distinction between major literature and minor literature, and they make 3 comments. One, according to them, the major is always a part of the minor is always the part of the major. The minor is always part of the major. That's the first one. The second one is that the minor is invariably political. The minor is invariably political. And third, the minor is collective. The minor is collective. So the minor is within the major. It is not outside the major. The minor is second political, and third one is it is collective. Is that okay? Now I accept all these 3. Okay, and I ask this question now to Deleuze and Guattari. I accept first one without any complaint. Is that clear?
Yes.
I accept the first one without any complaint. Second one, I have a problem. Why? Because if literature that is minor is political, thank you. So the first one is that, the second one is political, the third one is collective. The first one I accept without any problem. The second one is, if literature is political, has it performed politics in the West? Tell me one movement in the West which was triggered by literature. Is there any? It's triggered by capitalism, it's triggered by philosophy, it's triggered by various other things. Tell me one movement in the West where literature moved the society.
Do manifestos count?
Yeah, that's it. But so then how is it a political? I mean, it can have politics. It can have politics like, in sambar there is a, masala. Okay, but that is fine. It's there inside, that's it. But does it do anything? And second thing is, how is politics collected in the West? People read literature and they felt nice. And where did they read literature? And please remember that, okay, so I'm saying that these 2 don't fulfill, they are not true. So I contest this. And in contesting this, I say that the reason why I contest it is, according to me, with the advent of modernity, literature, this is literature, both minor and major, is rendered minor. Both minor literature and major literature is rendered minor by modernity. Modernity rejected everything from the pre-modern. Everything from the pre-modern is excluded by modernity. and look at what happens. With the advent of modernity, you find the rise of art and literature in the West. It is not a mere coincidence. So modernity comes and excludes everything from the pre-modern, and then there is a mushroom growth of art and literature. Okay? And what are the themes of art and literature? They are trying to reclaim in imagination what is lost in reality. Is that clear? They are trying to reclaim. Now if you go to any gallery, if you look at any painting, you don't find anything modern there. All the contents are pre-modern, either from religion or from the countryside or from Africa. If you look at the entire thing, in other words, the frames are like prison walls. This is the idea from, I borrow it from Foucault. The frame of a painting is prison and it can't escape the frame. So inside the frame is picture. Okay? So I give more importance to the frame than to the picture, whereas you give more importance to picture and ignoring the frame. Okay? Frame is like a prison wall of modernity. Book. Their library, that's why when they say that, you know, in the West, they take care of their libraries so well and their this, it is not. They're taking care of is exactly like the prison guard, taking care of the patient so that they don't escape from the frame and start operating in the public sphere. The frame stops them, refrains them, scuttles them from performing, from entering into the domain of the political. Is that clear? Okay, that's the reason why I find there is a causal but though complicated relation between rise of modernity and the mushroom growth of art and literature. Is that point is clear? If that's clear, then I want to shift from there to India. This is where I want to deflate. So, as I pointed it to you, of the three characteristic features of the relation between minor and major, thank you, sir. Sorry, you know, it's really troubling all of you.
No problem.
Minor and major, I find that, as I said, that, you know, this is fine, but these two things do not meet in the Western context. So that's how I deflate them. Did I break? That's how I try to bend them. Am I breaking deluge? Am I making deluge, or in, you know, I'm not bending, I'm not breaking, I'm just bending deluge.
Yes.
Now I bring deluge to India. And how do I do it? I do it in the following way. And I tell you that in India, the national movement has Gandhi. Okay? One of the biggest inspirations of Gandhi remains Tolstoy.
Yes, absolutely.
Ruskin and Thoreau. Without Thoreau, Tolstoy and Ruskin, Gandhi becomes very boring. Gandhi becomes very, very boring. And what is the genre of Tolstoy, Ruskin and Thoreau?
So war, peace, trade.
Literary genre. Understand? And what is Gandhi doing? Literature or politics?
Politics.
Yes, politics.
So what is inspiration for politics in India?
Literature.
And who is the one, where are they from?
TRT, Tolstoy and Ruskin.
You understand? So the first is met, second is also met. Not in the West.
But sir, is that, sorry, relatively minor, major, both, or as you said,
Both.
Together
Both,
they are
both,
just
both.
minor?
Both. In all kinds of combinations.
Okay, thank you.
And that's where, you know, we can do more research. Whether it is only minor, whether it is major, or major in relation to minor, minor in relation to major. We are not, you know, we can sit together and write an algorithm for each of the combinations and relook at what has happened in the, whether it is Raja Rao, any of those people, I mean it will make sense, okay, it's clear? And then, what Gandhi did here, so second is met, first is already met, I have not contested. Second is met, third is also met. Why? Because national movement, the politics of Gandhi is not an individual politics, it is a collective thing. The third is met. So where is Deleuze and Guattari operating now? Where three things that they said fulfill. In the West or in India? So which is a better place? What is an happening place?
So it's like now he self and we are other.
Yeah, fine. You understand? Okay? That is the thing that I want to. So I will just now block this and I'll tell you something very interesting with what has happened in India. In India, in the beginning of the late 19th, in the late 19th century, everybody thought, with the advent of modernity, every life other than modern life is considered as not worth living. Okay? Every life other than modern life is not worth living. So it is not that Christian life is worth living. Even Christian life is not worth living. Okay? Even Christian life is not worth living. Indian life is also not worth living. And the late 19th and early 20th century, the Bengal presidency received it more intimately than Madras presidency and Bombay presidency. In the Bengal presidency, they allowed colonialism to enter into the kitchen, whereas Madras presidency received it differently. Okay, I will not go into the details there, but that's a point that I wanted to make. But there are these Indologists who came up with a subvertive principle, very small but subvertive. And what is it? They came up with works where they said, wonder that was India. So what is important here is was. The tense is important. Okay? Modern life is good, but Indian life once upon a time was good. Understand? Now this is taken over by people like Swami Vivekananda, who succeeded in not only India, when Indians were getting converted into modern life. Please remember, we make a mistake where we say that Hindus are getting converted into Christianity. That's a mistake that we have made. Secularists and others are also, are guilty of this thing. It is not that Hindus are getting converted into Christianity. The Hindus are getting converted into modern life. Understand? Against this background, following the Indologist wars, okay, there are instances where there are Europeans who are getting converted into Hinduism, Sister Nivedita. This continues in Sri Aurobindo. But Gandhi saw a flaw in it. You know why? If you are against your people getting converted into not Christianity, forget about it. That's the major problem that we have authored, which is not true, and we should, we should actually seek pardon for, dabbling with that dangerous terminology, which is not true. How can we, Vivekananda, encourage people to come to Hinduism? Is that there is an inconsistency, isn't it? So Gandhi was a person who saw inconsistency. He said that nobody has a right to move away from where they are from. C.F. Andrews, the only person who called Gandhi Mr. Mohan. All others called him Bapu, Gandhi and all kind of thing. He is the only person, father, is a Christian father. He considered Gandhi as his father figure. So he sought two permissions from him. The first one is, he wanted to get married. Gandhi said no. Andrews was again happy. The second one was that he wanted to get converted into Hinduism. Gandhi said no. You know why? Because he was committing the same mistake. You understand? So that is the scene which was there in front of us. Now let me just take off from here and bring in something very interesting that took place at that time. And what took place? What took place was that when Gandhi came to India from South Africa, who called Gandhi Mahatma? Tagore.
Tagore, yes.
Tagore called Gandhi Mahatma, and Gandhi was surprised. He was shocked. You know why? He said, but I am not a Mahatma. So, to be considered as Mahatma by other, being a Mahatma, two different things. So, he thought that it was very shocked to him. So, what he did was, who called Tagore Gurudev?
Assuming
Gandhi. So, Gandhi seems to have said that if you want me to be Mahatma, you be my Guru. Mahatma means Maha-Atma, which means you cease to be an empirical self and you become a over-personal self or transcendental self. It is not Guruji, but Gurudev. Look at the terms, that they are very, very important. They are Guru, Dev, like Maha, there is this Dev. Okay? So you're not just my teacher, you are a God embodiment of as a teacher. Understand? And then the journey begins. So that's why the relation between Gandhi and Tagore is one of a student and a, and who is a good teacher?
who allows the student
Who gives easy questions or tough questions? Who gives? Isn't it? Okay? Who? So that's exactly what Tagore was doing. Tagore was giving Gandhi tough questions. And if you look at their relation between them, which is there in that book called Truth Called Them Differently, you will find Gandhi, charging Tagore, okay, as saying that, see, when Gandhi gave a call for burning of foreign clothes, Tagore said, why don't you give it to the poor? And you know what is Gandhi's response? He says, you should understand the poetic shade of the statement. You understand? Here is a politician telling the noble laureate about seeing the poetic shade of the statement. I mean, it will, see, 100 theses would have been written if it is happened in the West. That's why I call it's a big reality. We are not 100, I tell you, at least 100 theses would have written on this statement. Okay? And Gandhi, Tagore charges Gandhi. He says, look, all these things that you are talking about is subvertive. And please remember, they are all not personal. They are all like your teacher is not taking on you because of the personal thing. It's all trying to make you learn so that you put the toughest questions. Okay, you bow the toughest ball so that he becomes a good batsman. So it goes on. At one point of time, Tagore abuses Gandhi, saying that you are something like, a very abusive terminology. For what is it? That Gandhi called Ram Mohan Roy a pygmy. Okay, and then Tagore says, how can you call such a very great person like Ram Mohan Roy a pygmy? And then Gandhi replies saying that, I did not call him as a pygmy, you are reading out of context. And it's very unbecoming of a poet to read statements out of the context. Understand? Look at the pitching of the politics. Okay? He said, in comparison to Upanishads and Vedas and Buddhism and Jainism, people like Ram Mohan Roy, Tilak Maharaj are like pygmies. And he said, Tilak and Ram Mohan Rai would have agreed with me more than disagree with me. You understand the argumentation that's taking place there. So that is something that that happens on this idea of Mahatma. Is it clear? Now, the problem, however, is very complex. It became complex in the following way. This Mahatma business is very complicated. If you are a Mahatma, you generally leave your family and then practice Mahatma. Gandhi said, I will not leave family. I will practice Mahatmahood in the family. His son, Devdas, said that if you are in a family, then as a father you should take care of your children. If there is an advertisement, whom should the father tell? Children or outsiders?
Children.
So he said that I got a fellowship. That's a problem for, that is the seed of the conflict between the son and the father. And you don't want it to be given to me. You want it to be given to somebody else. You didn't get it for me. You should have got it for me. When I got it without your help, you don't want it to be given to me. And Gandhi's point is, if you get the fellowship, then I can't become a Mahatma. Because I am a own personal self. I am not an empirical self. A Mahatma has to sacrifice. Yes or no? Mahatma has to. So I want to sacrifice it. That is the root of the problem between these two. And the person who read the consequences of it brilliantly was Patel. So that was by Patel. Okay, I tell you two instances, and then maybe I will defer this discussion, a long discussion about it. One is that the last person whom Gandhi met before he was shot dead was Patel. And what was the conversation? The conversation was that Gandhi was trying to dissuade Patel, who had decided to quit and took a promise saying that he will not quit. Okay? And he gave a promise. Patel gave a promise. Gandhi, however, asked, what is your reason for quitting the cabinet? And Patel's reply was the following: I have no ego problem with Nehru. The only problem is Nehru was getting, the Prime Minister's office was getting files about Jammu and Kashmir, okay, without the knowledge about the Home Ministry. And this is bad for the young nation. And we will become like Pakistan. This is there in the biography of Patel, written by grandson of Mahatma Gandhi, called Rajmohan Gandhi. You understand the kind of thing? Now you immediately feel that Gandhi is a villain and Patel is a hero who has sacrificed. Okay. Now when Patel was leaving Delhi for good because of his heart problem, okay, he calls his secretary, Mr. Gadgil, and he tells Gadgil that, Mr. Gadgil, I know that you want to resign after I leave. Okay, you must give me a promise that you will not leave despite your differences with Nehru. You understand the text? Whose text is this? Gandhi's. Gandhi is against Patel, and Patel uses it in favor. Look at the metamorphosis of this, and look at the psychological mind of these people. So you can't slot them as these, that, these, and other. We do that slaughtering. They cannot be slotted into this pigeon holes. Understand? Now, I'll just wind up this block with this thing, that when there is this bitter rivalry between Gandhi and Tagore, and there is this Pune, famous or infamous fast, and then everybody thinks that Gandhi is going to die. So Tagore rushes from Shantiniketan and then comes, and on the day of the fast, Mahadev Desai comes to Tagore and asks him, please sing the song from Gitanjali. Okay? which Gandhi always liked. And then Tagore says that he began singing the composition that he has, he composed. Okay, but he forgot about all the composition. All the composition of that song that he composed for his own poem just disappeared like pack of chords. And he says, I sang never before and it came out so well. You understand the personal bond. So at an apparent level, there are these conflicts, rivalries, differences. At an underlying level, that's what makes this country a different thing. At an underlying level, there is this strong bond. You understand? Patel and Gadkil. And you find Gandhi and this is the, now it's here, for instance, I want you to remember that there are 6-7 people who immensely contributed to the making of the Mahatma. One, Devdas Gandhi. He was like it is like a laparoscopic operation without anesthesia. Very near, but cruciating pain. He was asking some very tough questions to his father. So don't consider Devdas Gandhi as a villain to Gandhi. See him as a teacher, setting tough questions so that the student becomes good. Okay, and nobody did it as brilliantly as Devdas Gandhi. Okay, sorry, the second person, which is very, very important, is Jinnah, who asked some tough questions to Gandhi. Without Jinnah, Gandhi would not have become what he is or was. The third person is Ambedkar. So when Gandhi is talked about that, Harijans are part of India, Ambedkar said, no, we are not part. So Gandhi has to answer that. In answering that, you find that his personality develops. But these are the second row. This is the second row. In the first row, you find his wife Kasturiba and Patel's daughter. Patel's daughter's contribution to the making of this entire thing is a very, very important, and there is a need to look at her biography. Has come up with a complexity of that biography in all these relations. That's the thing that I want to do. So now there's something very interesting happened during this time. Can I just take a few minutes? How much more time is there? No, don't say that. Again, go on. Pitch it. I'll just take 2 minutes. Look at something that has happened. Swami Vivekananda wore saffron and took to wandering. He wore saffron, yes, and he went on. He didn't stay at one place. Sri Aurobindo rejected saffron and rejected wandering, took to white and seclusion. So there are two paradigms that are there in front of you. Gandhi took wandering from Vivekananda and white from, which, in other words, he rejected saffron from, for obvious communal reasons, saffron from and seclusion from. So he is one of the biggest, craft designers, fashion designers that India has produced. I mean, look at the picture that emerges in front of us, and we are all just looking at some other vaguely, here and there in that absurd drama where actors are looking nowhere. Okay, this is our predicament. So if you want me to close here, I'll close it, but otherwise there are two more things where I can just briefly talk. Decide. The first one that I wanted to bring to your notice is that Gandhi is the votary of violence or non-violence?
Non-violence.
He is also influenced by Bhagavad Gita. What is Bhagavad Gita, advocating? Huh?
Fighting for the right.
War, no? A reluctant Arjuna who doesn't want to fight the war, Krishna is telling him to fight. Yes or no?
Yes.
Is there an incompatibility or not? How can the votary of non-violence accept a text that is a text of? Did you ask this question? Why? Because we are doing Western philosophy, which we don't understand. Did you ask this question? Is this question, interesting or not?
Yes.
Is it a question that you can ask in a university? But why are you not asking this? You know why we are not asking this? I'll tell you a parable. Mullah Nasrud was searching for something. A passerby finds him searching for, and then when the passerby returns after an hour, he still finds the Mullah Nasruddin searching. So he joins him to search. And then after some time he asks, "What did you lose?" He said, "I lost my key." Then he said, "Where did you lose?" He said, "I lost it there." So then he asks him, "Why are you searching here?" He says that there is light there. Our position is something like that. We are all searching for things that we lost somewhere else. Suppose if Mullah continues to search in the same place, even after being told about this person, what will call Mullah? Fool. But can he search where he has lost? So our job today is to take light from where there is light, which is west, to the place where there is, where we lost. That's our job. Understand why I told you this? We have to come up with strange combinations, and that will become productive. We will be remembered, you will be recognized at the global level. Otherwise, you are finished. I mean, the game is lost before ball is bowled, and you will be all the time fielding sixers. You know what is it to field a sixer? You all the time will be fielding sixer. A book will come from west, and you will just say like this, and then you will say that, "Oh yeah, I'm very, and it's gone up." It's not even a 4. It's just sixer. Take it from me. Just sixer. And it's going to be. You will be very active. You are very bright, and you are very, very serious, bright, and all. But the problem is you are fielding a sixer. Okay. So why did we not ask this question? So there are Gandhi Bhaktas who call him Mahatma. There are anti-Gandhians who call him not Mahatma. So what is this going on? Can it go on? Okay. If this is a problem, you all agree that is a problem? Now let me tell you how Gandhi resolved this problem. And he produced the first-rate hermeneutic exercise ever produced in the world, despite Derrida. And I read it with background of Derrida, where I don't disclose details, but the inspiration is from Derrida. Okay? And this is how I read it. Gandhi says, and this is another important thing is, that people who talked about Gandhi's Bhagavad Gita have not read his Bhagavad Gita. His essays on Bhagavad Gita. They have not read it. I'll tell you why. Gandhi resolved this incompatibility between two genres. Oh, this is more tea. So this is a different tea. That's a different tea.
It's camel based.
Huh?
It's
It'll
camel
work.
based.
It'll work.
It's good, it won't harm you.
Yeah, but there's some other tea there.
That's okay. It's a concoction.
This is how he resolved it. He resolved it in the following way. He said that I advocate non-violence. And the idea of non-violence, he borrowed it from Jainism. Okay? Non-violence means manasa, vacha, karmana. So, he borrowed it from Jainism in a 12th century text called Suyogada. Translated and published from Ahmedabad. Okay? Ahmedabad. Okay. This is what he said. He said that I am an advocate of non-violence. Okay? But unlike all of you, including Shankara to Tilak, looked at Bhagavad Gita as a text of violence, I consider it to be a text of non-violence. He gives 3 reasons. One reason is known to many people. He says that the war between Pandavas and Kauravas is not a historical war. It's a metaphorical, symbolic. That there is that war between, there is a Kauravas and Pandava in each one of us. There is a Kaurava and Pandava in each one of us. Clear? But the difference is that, the second reason, so that's one reason. So don't take it as an actual war. Okay? There is a war all through. The second reason that he gave was that Bhagavad Gita borrowed the metaphysics of Sankhya, not Vedanta. Okay? So where there are 3 gunas, what are the gunas? First one,
Sattva,
which is at the top, which is in the middle, which is at the bottom, which is the lower guna, which is the higher guna, higher guna. So what does the recommendation of Krishna lead to? Fighting war.
Rajas.
Okay. Okay. Which is the top guna? Huh? Sattva. So what is Bhagavan's recommendation leading to?
Top to bottom.
Bottom to top.
Top to bottom.
Is it going to top?
I mean,
Is it going to top?
bird's eye view, top to bottom.
Yeah, but is it going to top? It begins at the bottom, going maybe towards the
Middle.
but it's stuck cut in the middle. Can it ever go to top?
No.
So he says that it is like, you have 100 marks in an examination, you give questions only for 60 marks and evaluate them for 100 marks. You have an exam of 100 and you give 3 questions of 20 marks each and ask them to answer all 3. So what does it add up to? So what are you giving results for?
100.
So he says that the package is only till here. And where is this 40%? You understand? So he says that the recommendation in Bhagavad Gita has to be taken with a pinch of salt. There is 40% not outside the syllabus, inside the syllabus, but not
In the question.
covered.
Can I see clarification? You're basically saying just telling Arjun ki jaake yuddha kar le. He's giving him the Sankhya and the reasoning, so one level up.
That's it. There is a second level up.
Still 60.
There is a second level up, which is not covered in the text. We'll do it later. The semester is over. Next semester. The third, they're all there in the text, please remember. It's not my these things, they're all there in the text. He says, if you really wanted to know the purpose of Bhagavad Gita, you have to come outside the text. And recognize that Gita is a part of a Mahabharata, which is also called as Jaya. Which is also called as Jaya. Okay? And what is the what is the context of the war, Mahabharata, but what is the context of the narration of Mahabharata? That's why please make a distinction between. If you don't, then you get into serious problems. what is the context of the narration? The context of narration is the grandchildren of Arjuna were threatening to kill all the serpents because of some problem. Okay, and they go to this Rishi who tells them, narrates the Mahabharata and tells them that this is what your forefathers did. And in this war, neither side was a winner. So don't act violently. You understand now? Nobody except Gandhi came up with this miracle. Understand? You know, you can call him a Mahatma for this. And he's an academic par excellence. We have not read it. That's why I'm saying, you know, that we have let them down. There are no Vyasas in the 20th century or 21st century. The reality is fantastic. Okay? We are still continuing to pretend to search for the key we lost somewhere else. Okay, bring light from there. So the last point that I will just tell you that the other thing is about truth. The other thing is about truth. Or maybe I'll just mention one more thing here and then go to truth. Truth I will drop because that's not very important. You understand that non-violence is a very tricky business. The very important point that happened with the British is the following. Two things happened. Amazing things. This is the only country where politically active people were also writers. Gandhi wrote 100, Ambedkar 30, Aurobindo 30, Vivekananda 9, no other place. If you are a politician, you don't write. If you are a writer, you don't do politics. Understand? They are writers. They are not useful in the West. Okay? These are the people. Amazing thing. Amazing thing. This is the, and then there is something unique about British entry into India. And what is the amazing thing about British entry into India? British did not use violence to enter into India. This is the only time where the outsider entered without using. If they did not use, there is an absence of violence at the entry point, can they be sent using violence? Who wanted to send them using violence? Everybody except Gandhi. Gandhi saw that there is some problem, okay? If you use violence to send them out, then you have to bear the moral guilty. Moral guilty. That's why he took to non-violence. So non-violence is a strategic instrument in the hands of Gandhi. Don't attribute it as an essential feature of Gandhi. And that's why he has to go back to Bhagavad Gita, and he gets it not because his ingenuity of coming up with a new interpretation of Bhagavad Gita is co-authored by the nature of British entry into India. Understand? The outsider again. The West plays a very important role in bringing the best from the India. So what is it? So you might say that they use violence to maintain. They use violence to maintain. So Gandhi would say, you have to then use non-violence to send them back. Okay? Let me just end with this note. That many times whenever I talk about these national figures, there is somebody who comes and says, you know, you have to use the word Gandhiji. You know, you cannot disrespect these people, which is fine, you know, I'm from a village, so I respect people and all. But every time saying Gandhiji, Gandhiji is not, you know, it curtails my flow, so that's my limitation. So, so when you say there is Gandhiji, okay? Suppose if you remove this G and this G. Okay? So be careful. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. My, that was quite an overwhelming rendition, very succinctly put. I'm sure it has opened up. I don't know how many of you totally understood, But the fact is that the seniors would have grasped it. But the fact of the matter is, sir, the amount of ideas that you have given, the way to look at certain things that you have opened up, I'm sure is going to majorly benefit my students, and they're going to come up with some excellent research articles and topics for all of us to, put our brains to work. I would open the house for discussion and questions, if any. So please be seated.
Hello, sir. It was interesting to know because we also now have studied Derrida and recently we studied J.S. Mill as a part of our course. You talked about how Western philosophy has an influence on Indian philosophy, what an important role in this. Sir, in this case, do you think Indian philosophy has played a role in the Western side? And if yes, how?
Very marginal. Okay, that's because the Western philosophers are not interested in Indian philosophy, not because they find that Indian philosophy is inferior. No, that's not true. They are too busy with their own adversaries. So the idealists are against the materialists. So they are internally preoccupied. Okay, so they neglected I don't think that they neglected Indian philosophy. Okay, they look as if they are neglecting Indian philosophy, but actually they are busy with their own work. No, there is an insight that we can draw from it. If they are busy with themselves, what stops us from being busy with ourselves? No, I mean, and our people are not, short of ideas. You see, for at least for half an hour or 45 minutes, I could engage you. And what am I doing? Except first 5 minutes where I dished out, deluge and this. Rest of it is not a Western philosophy. Was it interesting or not? Not because of my competence. No. It is because of the richness of the material that is available. I could present it to you not because I'm a magician, trying to cover up what is not there. I was just trying to present to you what is there. And that's why Mullah's, parable is very important. But that, I find, the way in which I present it to you, the Indian material, is also facilitated by the outside, Western philosophy, my training in Western philosophy. So that's also, from this you can't do all these things without reading Western philosophy. You need to do a lot of reading of Western philosophy.
So I'm doing my dissertation on objectivism, and I'm doing my dissertation on how individualism will be the next change that will come to India instead of collectivism. Collectivism will be replaced by individualism and will be governed by reason, man's reason. So if you could shed some light on how these changes will happen in India, if you could.
Look at, for instance, Bhikkhu Parekh's chapter on Indianizing autobiography by Gandhi. Okay, Gandhi, according to Bhikkhu Parekh, calls his autobiography as Atma Katha. Okay, Atma is not individual, but it is an individual in a transcendental self. So, that is an individualism that one could find.
I'm a literature major in the last year, and I was wondering what you had to say about India and Indian families adopting a certain kind of selective Western philosophy and modernity when it comes to raising their children, but also trying to inculcate Indian tradition and the Indian philosophy which they believe to be correct, and how this creates conflict in the family.
Yeah, two things. One is that there is a sequential relation between pre-modern and modern in the West. So when the Westerners go back to their tradition, it is modern then pre-modern, and most of it is this, library, literature, theatre, painting and things like that. In India, the relation between pre-modern and modern is simultaneous. So they are all, they are hitting each other simultaneously. So the temporal ordering is different from the temporal ordering in the West. So I don't want to say it quickly, but I have to say it because of it, that's the response. Modi happens after, before Trump. Not Trump and then Modi. So India is not following America. Okay? Something happens here and then something happens there.
Thanks. You mentioned Indology in the lecture. A book came out recently, I'm not really quoting the book, but it was about politics, about Sanskrit. I think Rajiv Malhotra wrote it. Indology has to sort of go through the Western, points and then comes to us, especially us, this generation. My question is, as a youngster who is probably bi or trilingual, as a student of international relations or literature, when I want to write and publish, I have to go through such tremendous dissonances that are created by this simultaneous education. Sometimes my grandfather will tell me a story or a poem that I've never read or heard. But at the same time, I'm looking at, Derrida and others and Kant and who knows what. Personal feeling is, it creates such barriers. What language to choose to write in. And then the education makes us aware about so many pitfalls of criticism that more and more I see my fellow peers sort of just shutting down. Like you said, we are experiencing success in a very different way. We're not able to there is a dissonance in identity. How to resolve that? Because material is there, but I don't know where to start, where to end.
What you consider as barrier is a prerequisite for creativity in the West. Take Kafka. Kafka is facing a barrier of Czech, German. Okay, but he doesn't leave it. So that is a raw material. It is, it is very tough. But you are fortunate to have the barrier, unlike other people who have to search for a barrier. See, you can't be a creative writer, without being a barrier. Then you'll become like Voltaire. That's so you see that. So you are very happy that 90% of your work is done. And look at Gandhi. Gandhi also is facing a barrier. Please remember, he is reading Tolstoy, Rousseau, and Thoreau. Okay, but look at the material that he is accessing. He is accessing Bhagavad Gita, and he is not from there. And he is not accessing Bhagavad Gita like Shankara to Tilak. And that line is a very long line. It is a traffic jam in the highway. No, this is the only text in India, from India, where many people wrote the commentaries. Okay, so the line is very long. And here is a person who completely puts all of them in one bag and says, throws it out. And it just goes like a whimper, push, it gone.
Final question? Then I'll take this question. Which is
Sir, I would like to quote Sri Aurobindo, like when you rightly put the whole perspective in the place. Now, I read this in a letters to Sri Aurobindo when he was in the Sikalshan, and the people from Ashram used to write a letter. So this was question raised to him that when Western philosopher talks and when Indian philosophy, like we are old, we have been through years, we have derived this from our experiences, from Para and so many things. Why are we still struggling as an Indian philosopher, as a scholar of a discipline of philosophy? So Sri Aurobindo says that Westerners are, as you said, they are too busy. Second thing, they have a wonderful mental organization, which we as an Indian lack. We Indian philosophers have more of experience and then we express. So, which is out of the premises of Western philosophers. So, do you find there should be any bridge which connects so that we doesn't have to take a route that you suggested, that it comes, they enable us?
It's like this. The experience is not an asset for the theory, as Sri Aurobindo rightly pointed out to you. But experience is very crucial for art and literature in the West. Okay, so I'm saying that we could take that combination. So the experiential domain of the India needs framing. If you don't have it, borrow it from outside. Look at Aurobindo. Sri Aurobindo is using a lot of Darwin to go against, beyond
then he goes to the mind. So
yeah.
Evolve. Then he talks about evolution of mind, the higher
Fine.
minds.
I'm saying that there is another combination which is not antagonistic to them. This is the combination that
So maybe he's trying, Sri Aurobindo is trying to use their language
Yeah,
just
fine.
to get in and then...
he writes in English. He writes in English.
Exactly.
Exactly like Nagarjuna writes in Sanskrit, which is abandoned by, which is rejected by Buddha. See, Buddha rejected, he said abandon Sanskrit because it is the language of the elite. But Nagarjuna writes, you know why? Because if you have to counter the Vedantins, and if you write in Pali, you do not reach them. So they dictated by your adversary. So I think that's why, this hybridity, as it's sometimes called hybridity, is very important resource for creativity.
So now we have to move to synthesis, to hybridity
Yeah,
and then.
fine.
And second question is how to simplify philosophy as a discipline among the youth. How do you see that? Because very few people taking out this discipline.
See, I learnt it from a mother and wife. That when they make their sambar, the definition of making a good sambar is that at the end of the making, no ingredient is available to throw it out, to be identified and thrown it out. They should increase the aroma and the taste. Okay, so philosophical terminology should be boiled in